Hey, good evening everybody. Tonight I'm going to show you how to make a big batch of spaghetti sauce. I just stopped by the store on the way home from work to pick up some meat and some vegetables. I have the rest of the ingredients at home already. This makes a really large batch of sauce, so if you've got a dinner party or something, it's great. It's really fast to put together, and it freezes really well for your leftovers. So here's the list of ingredients. Start a big pan on medium heat and get your ground beef in there. Now I don't use any oil with this because I'm using lean ground beef, which surprisingly has a fair amount of fat. I am going to drain some out after. So while this is starting to fry up, I'm going to go start my chopping. Chop up your onion first. Set that aside in a bowl for the time being, then go check on the meat. There's not too much happening, so I'll turn the heat up a touch. There's only a bit of fat coming off the bottom, and just get in there with your spatula and break it up. I always give it a bit on the heat before I do this, because if you do it right away, you'll notice if the heat's too high that it'll stick to the bottom of the pan, whereas if you do let it go like this to heat up a bit at the beginning, it just slides around and there's no issues. So just turn that over fast and chunk it up there, and then go chop your mushrooms. I like brown mushrooms. They have a better flavor, I find. You can use white if you want. It really doesn't take that long to slice these, and you'll find that these are a lot cheaper than the pre-sliced. I've got about a pound here. The amount's not critical. I'll give these a quick rinse first. And if you're not used to chopping mushrooms, what you do is take a look at them, and if you've got a badly discolored stem, just cut the end of that off and discard it. And the fastest way to do it is just pop the stem out, put the cap down, and slice them nice and thin. The thinner you slice them for a sauce, the better they turn out. And when you get to the end bit, don't worry about slicing your fingers up. Just slice it up in small pieces, and you can either do the stems one by one or do them all at once. It's a lot easier to slice them lengthwise. Now if you really want small pieces after, you can just put the cleaver on it a couple of times. I personally prefer the larger slices, and just do the rest like that. So there's the mushrooms all chopped up. Makes quite a bit. The strainer's already dirty, so I'll just put these back in here instead of getting a new bowl. And the meat sounds like it's getting pretty excited over there, so I'll go over there in a second. Let's get a bit of light on here. Yeah, you can see the fat's coming out quite nicely. It's browning on the bottom, which is good. Now, this is where you've got to make a decision for your own personal preferences for sauce. If you like it really chunky, don't break these up too much, and just keep stirring them around. If you like a sauce that's really fine, then get in there with your spatula and flatten it down. Okay? And just let that all cook up. Either way you do it, what you want to do is cook this until the water has come out and you have got just fat in the bottom. Doing fine there. Now, if you're wondering when all the water has come out, it's pretty simple. When there's lots of water in here, it will be very, very cloudy, the fat at the bottom. You won't even be able to see through it. And what you can see here is that it's getting clearer, and nearly all the water's come out because the bubbles are like really small and it's bubbling really quick. When it gets to this point, turn the heat down when you're going to take the meat out, because if you leave it on high, when the meat comes out of the pan, the temperature will rise really rapidly, and you don't want it to get too hot and start spattering everywhere, or worst case, catching on fire. So you absolutely don't want. And if you're not sure how to do this comfortably, just take it off the heat, or turn the heat off and then start again. It's always better to be safe than sorry or get burned. And I'll give you a quick zoom here. Yeah, believe it or not, that's 3 pounds of lean ground beef. That's how much fat is in there. It's kind of shocking, isn't it, eh? So what I'm going to do actually is turn the heat right off now and take out most of that. I'm just going to use a little bit to fry the onions and the mushroom for the flavor. So how I do this is I just get a sauce ladle and either get a glass or a coffee mug. I wouldn't use a plastic glass for this. I'd say that's probably 1/3 of a cup of fat I've taken out. And there's just enough in the bottom left to coat the pan, which is enough for the onions and the mushrooms. So I'll turn that back on. Onions in first. Get your salt on there to get the water out of the onions quickly. I'm using the Himalayan pink for the minerals. You can use regular or sea salt depending on your preference. Now you'll notice how I'm spraying around the pan. That's to use the water from the onions to clean off any baked on bits on the side that have that nice beef flavor in it. So you're helping to prevent your sauce from burning and also getting more flavor into it at the same time. So after the onions have fried enough that they're starting to get soft and you can see through them a bit, get the rest of your spices. I just like to keep it simple. I've got some dried oregano and basil and a little bit of chili flakes. The amount you put in is up to you. There's no strict measurement. So I'd say not too heavy on the chili unless you like it really hot, because a little does go a long way in the sauce. And you get a better visual estimate of how much spices you put in if you do them all at the same time without stirring it up. So after they're in, just give that a quick stir. And throw the mushrooms in. When the mushroom slices start to soften up and change color, that's when you throw your meat back in. So turn that down to medium and go get your cans open. tomato paste, tomato sauce, and the diced tomatoes. Get your spatula in there, and what I do is make sure that I kind of mush up the tomato paste. This will all dissolve, so you don't even have to really worry about it. I just like to spread it out at the beginning. So at this point, when it's nice and even looking, I get my lid and leave it to simmer, and I'll check on it every 15 minutes or so. Now, it's basically cooked because the meat and the vegetables are cooked. All you have to do is heat up the tomato products and let it simmer to your own taste. So, you know, that can be a long time, a short time, it's up to you. It really doesn't take that long. The alarm went off for 15 minutes, so let's see what we've got here. Yeah, that's starting to thicken up quite nicely already. So I'll give it a good stir around. Turn the heat down to low now. One thing I didn't mention before, the nice part about the meat being pre-cooked before you start the sauce is that if you do intend to just freeze all of it, what you can do is basically freeze it now. And then when you defrost it, you can finish cooking it in the pot. And that way you're not going to have an overcooked sauce when you heat it up. And if for whatever reason you do lose track of the time and it does get overcooked, you can easily wake this up by just adding a little bit of water at a time until it gets the consistency that you want. Okay. So half an hour. And as you can see, the tomatoes are getting nice and cooked, and the sauce is really starting to come together. I'm going to let it cook for another 15 to half, because I really do like it thick and cooked down. But honestly, I would say either now, if you're really hungry, or within the next half hour, this is ready to go. "45 minutes in. And you can see how it's cooking down even on low. The reason you want to stir it is just to get a feel for the texture and also make sure that nothing sticks to the bottom. And it shouldn't. There's enough oil from the meat in here. And just get all the flavors mixed in. Yeah, 15 minutes, and at that point you can just leave it on low to simmer until you get your spaghetti ready, or just take it off the heat and reheat it later. So full 1 hour, and yeah. One last stir, and you can tell from the consistency that it's just got a nice sauce. It's not too thin, not too thick. Everything's cooked, all the flavors are mixed in. And I'll just give you a better look with the ladle here. So depending on how much sauce you like on your spaghetti and your portions and whatnot, you can see this makes quite a lot. So that's how I make spaghetti sauce, to either cook or freeze. And as usual, thank you for watching, and I do hope to see you again.